back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron with Black Ice 9. Alright, well, we're going to continue this as we're speeding through the end of save our money. End of 37 here. No longer trying to get us to drift. Light armor design. So now we can do medium armor designs. Yes, good. Get some medium tanks. Now the sort of first pseudo medium tank of Italy's, and I forget the number of it. You know, its model number. It had a turret on it that had a machine gun in it, or two, one or two. And the main gun was down in the hull. And it was only like a 37, 47 millimeter gun, somewhere in there. I forget exactly. But it was a, you know, moderately light gun, moderately low powered gun. I think it was the sort of 47 millimeter anti-tank gun the Italians had, but it's a low powered, low pressure gun. And it had very limited traverse compared to something like the Grant/Lee of the Americans with its 75 millimeter gun. It had even less. So even in their earliest models of a gun, not a machine gun, but a gun-mounted tank, it was still fixed in the hull. You know, I mean, it, you know, had a degree of movement, but it wasn't very good at all. They sort of then after that, using the, and again I forget exact model numbers, using the basically the same hull, they were able to move it up to the turret. Same basic gun, just in the turret instead of down in the hull. So that was an improvement, most assuredly. That was Huff Duff. I haven't entirely forgot what we were doing, but yep, way too far in advance. Depth charges, that, you know, obviously helps, deals with the subs considerably. And we have some of those vessels, plus our escorts and escorting efficiency will increase. Important, especially if you're looking at, hey, you've got islands like Sardinia and colonies like Italy and Rhodes. Assault concentration. And again, that one is now too far in advance. Yes, we will stop that. So we don't even have a military academy, so we can't do those. I don't think a military academy is something we could build. I think that's basically permanently off the table for us, unless we capture one. Because I think the military academy is one of these. I know you get, Germany has one, and then you normally get another one when you take, what is it, Sancerre or something here in, Paris, Almere maybe it's Sama, not a trading base. I don't know. Just not, am I just skipping over it? Not realizing it. Base hospital. Maybe, oh, here. There it is, up there. See? State, there. Military Academy. There, so it's out at Versailles. This has the National Monument of the Arc de Triomphe, or is that the Eiffel Tower, which is the National Monument? So yes, so unless we capture that, and I do think that's particularly one of the things that should not be capturable, in the sense it shouldn't give you benefits, because Germany or Italy having the French military academy, I don't think would have helped them. Not in a short-term game like this. I'd see it different if we were talking EU and after 10 or 20 years of sort of enculturalization and trying to, you know, occupy it and rebuild and whatnot. I know we're just about ready to do the... Okay, now this looks like it's bugged. I'm sort of looking here now. And whether it is or not, because it has anti-air unit mix support lower than 1. So currently this is lower than 1. But I can still do this one, which would then keep me from researching this. But it would appear that if, say, I wait, I don't know, a year or two, or, you know, wait for the upgrades of the other things, and then get this up higher level, then I could jump back and get this, which would shut down future development here, but would allow ongoing anti-air upgrades, or maybe cancel them both out. I don't know, so I'm not going to research that one. This one, just we can continue because we have some of these here. And the more I look at these, it's not affecting us too much now because we're really only looking at 2 sets of these, but these are adding to the complication layers, as well as this is adding to the complication layers of the game. So I hope, now I say this, I hope, and I don't know, hope they've compensated for some of this. And my sort of worries, or as my friend, and I do think of him as that, as an online friend, oh my god, is liking to nerf things. And so you know, wouldn't necessarily think you need to add some stuff just to make the game more difficult to balance it out. Improve security. Yeah, we'll do that. I'm thinking we probably will be occupying some territories. Stormtrooper tactics advanced. Yeah, we have light infantry and only light infantry, so it's being used by France. Get us towards their faction. Now I'm thinking about this here, because we don't have TRE installed, so I'm sort of used to playing it from there, which has a series of events that allow Germany to try to get Italy in, and Italy has, it's programmed that I do it so that Italy does take the historical path, so the Italian player. See, this is the way I do, the way, and just to give you the philosophy, the way I do you know, program TRE is to follow the historical path for the AI. So when say Germany asks Italy to join the you know, anti-Comintern pact, say. Now, I know there is an anti-Comintern pact for Black Ice, but I sort of supersede it with one for myself for TRE. But you know, and that comes along the lines and goes, oh yeah, do you want to join Italy or Hungary or wherever else? It sort of then goes, bounces it over to the Italian, you know, country, and the AI goes, normally it's like maybe joining the, you know, the anti-Comintern pact is, oh yeah, 100% chance for the AI to pick yes. But the player, so if you were playing multiplayer, or if we had it, and again, I'm somewhat regretting not having it. I'm seeing both goods and bads for not having TRE. But if when it hits there, we would then be able to, so if you're playing it as Italy but with TRE installed, you go, no, I don't want. I'm going to go to war with Germany. I don't want to be in the anti-Comintern pact and eventually become the Axis. So you have the ability to say no. So if you wanted to try to do a pro-allies Italy or something like that, you can. And so whether in multiplayer or single player, you have that option. But and sometimes it's a weighted thing. It's like a 60-40 or 80-20%, to go down the historical path. But it's always focused to more than likely go down the historical path for the AI. That's just my design philosophy and how I look at it. So when you're ever seeing a mod or something like that built by me, whether it's just an event or a mod or whatever, it gives the human the options that I believe are realistic. But generally speaking, it pushes the AI to follow the history. Now, of course, if you're already at war, it doesn't come up, kind of thing, because it must be at peace with Italy, and there's some conditions. And if I've forgotten a condition and it sort of seems haywire with any of my stuff, go, hey, why is it giving me this unit or something here, but I'm not even at war with the Soviets, and it's a Soviet German collaboration unit from the Soviet Union. Oh, well, let me know, and then I'll go in and look. Oh, okay, under those conditions, it shouldn't do that either, and I'll try to add that stuff. So, yeah, do let me know if we are, if I don't have all the conditions down right, because sometimes I get events contribute to me that are presuming very much the historical path, and I try to add in other reason or likely or possible non-historical. What if, I don't know, France is somehow allied with Germany at war with Britain or something like that. So have some sort of checks to see if it's something, what if. But if I forget about a what if possibility to change it, I do want to know about that, because don't always come up with everything. So always give that kind of feedback, and that's sort of my design philosophy. Okay, aerodynamics of the fuselage, that would be here, and yes, we are stopping that. And artillery barrel and ammunition advance, which is also too far in advance now. Okay, well, I think we'll wait on that because we can't come over here. And do that one. We still got a little bit more. Almost half a point. We definitely have things like this, but I'd rather... I'm still not sure what, because that build cost, it reduces it down, but I don't think that we get to do... Well, battleship, battle cruiser armor, capital ship at least 2. Well, let's do this then. Okay, I just want to clear this out. Not worth it. Armor unit training advanced. Good. We've got to get mechanical computing up. here soon. Well, we can do destroyer escort. Now, just because it was brought up, it'll be a few days ago by now. Have you ever thought about playing Game X? This was War in the East by Gary Grimsby this particular time, and I've been asked about that before. And yes, I have thought about that. That particular game and other games, but this is just sort of a what does it allow me to cast armor construction armor 2? So that would be over here. Good. Okay, so we're going to stop that and come over here because we're going cast armor. Increase the morale of the armor units, but reduce building time. Trade-offs. So yes, there are a lot of games, and I can almost say just about the entire Matrix library I would love to play for the channel. Now it wasn't offered this time. I have had a couple of offers. I would be happy to play any of those games. France, where are they going with those guys? Must be flying somewhere. Shifting to North Africa. Be happy to play all of Matrix library of games and other stuff, but it comes down to cost. And even some of the games are on sale. Some are sort of permanent sale, others aren't. Some of the games can be very expensive, but even if they aren't on sale, or even if they are fairly cheap, it's a budgeting issue. This channel makes very little, and to put that back into the cost of buying games, one thing to buy the next expansion to, because I did buy the sort of season pass expansion to Hearts of Iron 4, because I know I'll need it, but for things that I don't know whether I'm going to use too much of it, I just don't have the money to do that from this channel. And if somebody's suggesting, well, why don't you, either I would pay for it, or why don't you see if you can get a collection up, so just a dollar a a person or something, which super little for a bunch of people to play a game. Well, part of that comes down to, and I don't want to do that, is because I may not like the game, I may not play the game very well, once actually getting into trying it, or yeah, it may have 20 really dedicated people who want to watch it, but it could be sort of like, which I'm doing sort of out of a give back to all the modders who have really helped me in the past with Baldur's Gate when it was the main game I was playing. That's sort of why I want to play their mods through, because no one has done anything like I've done for Baldur's Gate. But it doesn't get very many views, and I'm not begging anyone to go watch Baldur's Gate, because if it's not your thing, don't watch it. Don't waste your time. Please don't. It just, if you sort of like that stuff, great, watch it, please. But if not, don't. But I want it to be there as a to show off these people's work that they did. But so if somebody's contributing to a particular game and you get it, and hey, there's not that many people wanting to watch it, well, I can't really take up my time, the channel's time, to continue with a game that doesn't interest enough viewers. But if a company were to give me, like Matrix has given me, the Strategic Command World War II War in Europe, they gave that to me along with a few others at different times, games. All I owe them is a sort of an honest review showing of the game, and make a few episodes talking about the game, showing what the game is, and that's it. And I could even say the game's terrible, and it sucks. None of the Matrix games that they've done have done so. Please don't make me think that. It just, some of the games haven't got very many viewers, so I stopped playing them. Not because they sucked, it just, the viewers here weren't that interested in them. And So that's what I owe a company if they give me the game, is to sort of feature the game, talk about it, make a few episodes, and they go, hey, and if it's really popular, play a lot of it. If it's like Blitzkrieg 3, I'll probably make a few more episodes, but it hasn't been popular with you, so I'm not going to continue it, on any ongoing basis. Again, I've been meaning to make 2 or 3 episodes just to sort of have ready for when I'm not ready with Hearts of Iron 3 or something like that. I can, put it up as an alternative, something else to put up here for a few of you. So at least something's coming out. And so that's sort of the way I feel. So if you want me to play a game, that's related to the channel, and trust me, I've asked for at different times with different people, including a World War I game recently, and it was sort of shifted off to, well, we'll forward it to somebody else, and they never got back to me. So, oh well. World War I want to play other historical periods in games. I really do. And I've done some, and we'll do some more with Holdfast, which is the Napoleonic first-person shooter game. Though that's also not getting. I want to do it more for myself and also be able to talk about the period, but it's hasn't been getting very good views on the one episode that I put here. But I want to play other episodes than just World War II. So this isn't just a World War II channel. So, and this is sort of taking a while. But if you have a game that's a historical, military, political, cultural sort of type strategy or shooter or whatever sort of game, and you want me to try it out for the channel, if it's a free game, I'm more likely to, I can download it and try it out and play a little bit of it. That's fine. But if it isn't, hey, you can most games have a company forum. Give a link to this channel and say, hey, I'd like to see Gamer play your game. You can contact, often they have on their contact list on their website their PR, which stands for either public relations or press relations, but you contact that person. That's normally the person who gives out the Steam keys to things. And if they you can contact that person and say again, hey, I watch Gamer's channel, I would love to see him play this game so I know more about your game and what he thinks about it, to see if I should buy it. Or you can because nowadays most of the companies also have a YouTube channel and post videos of the game, and you could there say, hey, I would like to see Gamer play it. They may respond. That's what you can do. I am hooked up with one company that's a public relations type company for games, and I get offered through that to request Steam keys. That's how I got Ancient Frontiers. Most of the stuff is so not for this game, or it's for Nintendo Switch, which I don't own, or things that are just just not for this channel, so I don't even ask for those games. It's something that's sort of kind of like that Ancient Frontier. It's it's not historical in the past, but it's set science fiction in the future, sort of turn-based strategy space game. So I thought, yeah, some of you guys would probably be interested to know what the game is. Maybe you'll all look at it and go, that ain't for me. But see, I'm doing a service for you in showing the game to you, and so that you can see whether you want to buy it. For like that game, posted the links of the videos on the Steam video page for for the game, so that people wanting to know if they want to buy that game on Steam, they can click on those videos to see if it's the type of game they want to play. So doing a service for people like that, and it's a service for the company because the company gets the game out there to be seen by some other people, and people get to make the choices on whether they want to buy a game. Because if anybody is still buying a game today based, I'm going to call it this, box art, or the because that's where we used to have to buy the games almost literally, or you maybe reviewed in a magazine that a lot of people didn't buy, magazines, because they cost money, and how much do you really get out of some of those things. but or sort of the the sort of the display art, a few screen captures, screenshots. Do you really buy a game based off of a few screenshots anymore? I wouldn't. I would always nowadays go to YouTube, type in the game's name with Let's Play or something like that to try to see what the game looks like. And so before I spend any of my money on anything, even if whether it's for the channel or just something entirely unrelated, I'm going to go look it up and see what it's about. So that's me doing a service for the company. And I don't necessarily trust the company's Let's Play. I want to see a third person, somebody else doing the Let's Play. So yeah, if you want, yes, please do post what you're interested in, because that does tell me the types of games you would like to see me play, and that is helpful. Whether I'm, this is in no way saying, oh, don't bother posting. No, do, so I know what's going on and I know what you're interested in. Okay, so we now have heavy artillery brigades, but we also have these. Well, medium velocity gun we're already doing. I'm just trying to be the most efficient I can with my research, because I know it's just sort of like the sort of cushion period that Hoi 4 gives. I've also been in multiple places being asked about Hearts of Iron 4. Wow, this is good. Is in comparison to this. We still have a little bit more games. And of course, in short, I could say watch all my videos because I'm constantly comparing them, but they sort of have sometimes specific questions, or they haven't had time to watch everything, and I understand that, and they want to know. So I do like that feedback. I do like the knowing what you're interested to see, because it does influence me when I do ask for a game from a company. If I think it's something that either new or old, out for some time, or just come out, or is coming out, I know that if you're interested, and I've asked other companies for games. Like I say, Matrix has been very nice. They've given me some games to play for the channel. So they've been very nice with that. But other companies just mostly just have ignored me asking some other ones, and it's understandable. I'm a small channel. Wasn't it? Oh, air launch torpedoes. Yes, okay. Well, we're... And so I do sort of like that cushion period. Now, that cushion period, I do believe, in the Hoi 4 game is... sort of designed to keep the game flow, so that when something ends before you go to get to the next one. Oh, and I was getting ready to do that. I didn't do that. Align to faction. This is something like I was starting to say, that we should probably be aligning to faction towards Germany. Something I'm not used to doing, because I'm either normally playing Italy or Germany or Britain with Hearts of Iron 3 armor unit, which start out in factions. And so like I was saying, this is a small channel. It probably, anything that gets reasonably good, or you know, is reasonably popular here, will probably sell a few copies. But they're often looking for selling a bunch more copies than just. This now allows, oh, tank upgrade, anti-tank upgrade. That's right. Got to get used to this. So it would allow for this one here. And this one, of course, too. Well, I guess we will start some early, slightly early. Like I say, I'm trying to be very efficient with my research. We're almost in 38. We'll get some of these starting to go. No, we're going to decline that. Frank for international settlement. Yes. Yes. Fuel. Tank. Oh, this settle for international settlement. Giving us a bit more. Well, let's do some of these now, because time gets tough. We'll need that. And okay, what did we just get? Ships back. Well, they didn't take as long as they said they would, but they cost considerably more than they said they would. Isn't it here? Yeah, there we go. So now we have a decent little fleet. We still got 2 more battleships coming. Basically, I think these are all battleships or heavy battle cruiser type vessels. I don't know if or when we're gonna get, you know, the Flagore, the paratroopers, but being able to do some air supply would be useful. So we'll build one of those. And we'll go with another naval bomber. It will help with practicals in time. Okay, so global game balance, so shift to diplomatic influence. We've got energy. Decline. Are these all energy things? But it's one area that we may need to later on. Yeah, I just don't see anything overly better for us right now. And we're also going to continue in 38, yes, to build up our... Oh, no, we're not going to do that yet. We're going to do this one first. Short-term investment, again. Okay. Oh, oh. Pause, damn it. Okay, yes, we're gonna have to deal with that. Unfortunately, now we gotta do this first. National recruiting policy, yes. I was just wanting the day to go by. Now, let's slow this down by 1. Take effects. We would give them crude for money. Okay. We've lost that because I didn't want to have that minus on the ICs, and I want a whole day to go by. Okay, what to do here? Well, this will gain. Oh, gains 2 in descent. Yeah, we want to do that, so help with national unity, but got more dissent. Bummer. Okay, we're gonna do. Yeah, we're gonna do economic buildup, and see now because we have a bigger economy here, we get bigger boost, and it's all the gain. Don't be misled by the lose, because let's go look at Milano. Where is that? That now. Torino, where is that? Here. I've even been to Milan. Okay, there's 2 there now. So instead of doing that, we're gonna do this. And now we're 3. So even though it said lose, we did get that, which really helps us out. Okay. Yeah. I think so. Why does it keep thinking we want to? Well, we are sort of. We'll get some energy from Ireland so we don't have to ship it very far. Or not really at all. No, we'll just take your. We're back up to medium popularity. Good. Oh, now with the IC boost. Okay. Well, let's talk to Germany. Offer trade agreement. Germany has steel and coal. We need steel and coal. Let's start with that from Germany. Because, see, I'm still thinking about adding Turkey to the Italian Empire. And so I'll just get their reserves once we get there. Soviet Union? Nah. Yeah. Wait a few days and we'll do a energy deal with Germany. That will also help bring us closer relations with Germany, which will be good. Now, Germany can take that. Finland now. Rare materials. Okay, Finland will do that. Because Finland we're going to hope to be our ally, so we're not, neither us nor Germany is likely to take their resources. Consumer goods. Okay, yeah. Okay. I'm just guessing Iran is a little further out than the Roman Empire we're going to get to. Fighter ground crew training, good. So, yes, we're now in 38. So, We want to pump up our steel production. I did this first because it takes the longest to research, so you might as well sort of start there. Though of course I started there because I want supply production as quickly and as soon as possible. You guys really didn't like my sort of period propaganda postcards or whatever they were that I found with those little kids sort of painting up the Ethiopian map into the Italian colors, or the Italian kids accepting the Ethiopian surrender things, sort of the postcards. I thought they were really cool, but clicks on them were way down compared to other ones, even ones post that one. So no, because I do sort of looked at to see what you guys are most likely to click on. Fighters. Oh, we've moved up in model. I'm going to be very cautious with these guys. Before that war starts, we're going to be cutting all of our overseas trade deals. Okay, we've improved our single engine armament aircraft to level 3. Good. And Usetta della Lega della Nazioni. Black shirts. The historical division that Grand Consigliere has acclaimed today could not have been postponed more. For long years, we have offered the world a show of unprecedented patience. We hadn't forgot and will never forget the infamous attempt of economic strangulation of the Italian population committed by Geneva's League. Or Geneva's, whatever. Someone thought at a certain point the League of Nations would have done a generous act of reparations. It didn't. It wouldn't. The good intentions of the same governments drowned as soon as their diplomats enter that vicious Sanharin, don't know, controlled by shadowy forces opposed to our Italy and our revolution. The Italians' exit from the League of Nations is a historical event that has brought the attention of the world, and the consequences of this decision are not yet foreseeable. We will not abandon our fundamental political doctrines that aim to collaboration and peace. Okay, so we will not stand for this. This is us leaving the League of Nations, or not a wise move, which doesn't help our relations with the people who we want to go to. Now let me pontificate on this a little bit at this point, and compare it to the United Nations of today. Because as I'm making this video, basically I think it was yesterday, the United Nations overwhelmingly voted to condemn the United States for such a terrible and bad action of recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Yes, I did go silent there. Really, with all of the bad torture allegations and other bad actions, and Russia just sort of annexing Crimea, taking territory. They've taken other territory from Ukraine, and are ongoing support for militia actions that I do believe ongoing support, as in Russian, I almost said Soviet, Russian soldiers taking off their uniform and fighting alongside with Russian ethnics, because there, like we saw in the Sudetenland and other places, there are, and some of them settled in the Stalinist era, maybe some after. Definitely, I've known of other anecdotal situations after the Holodomor in the Ukraine of other ethnic Russian types being settled in abandoned villages because of starvation and whatnot. Basically, everyone died or got moved out of the village. So they're not necessarily ancient. I mean, a lot of these people nowadays were born there, but it's not like they're ancient homes. But even if it was their ancient homes, because, however ancient is, whether that's 50 years, 100 years, or 5,000 years, even if there is like some ancient Russian ethnic community inside of greater Ukraine territory, could be in the center of it, doesn't mean that it's that, and those people may very legitimately want to be part of either Russia, the Soviet Union, or Greater Russian Federation, or whatever. They may very legitimately want to be part of it, but that doesn't mean that they get to have their territory given to the other nation just because they want it to be. They can obviously, and I believe in the rights of people to leave a country. That's why I believe in the rights of Americans who hate America. You wanna go live in a communist paradise? Yeah, go ahead. Move to Cuba. Move to Venezuela. Do it. I'm not going to stop you unless you're a criminal. And there's like one or two that were specifically sort of political criminals that shot a armored car guard while they were during a revolutionary movement in the 60s or 70s to get some cash. So now they didn't necessarily kill the armored car guard or the policeman or whatever because of politics, in the sense of, but they killed them to get money for political reasons, and they were part of these revolutionary groups. A few of them did escape there, and of course those people I want, because they committed a crime, I want them to go to jail. But outside of that, hey, yeah, you can leave the United States anytime you want. This is why I thought it wasn't just the East Berlin Wall, the whole of obviously most Europeans know this, but Americans nowadays, I don't know, the whole of East Germany was walled off from West Germany, but also there was fencing along Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and Yugoslavia to keep people from the east from going to the west. And it was really only the I think mostly in Czechoslovakia, but also in Hungary, the local communist government going, hey, yeah, no, if an East German citizen shows up here and they want to go to the West, well, just let them through. We don't care. We're not going to enforce the greater communist bloc of locking up of East Germans. Now, I'm not saying a nation, and there's a lot of controversy now over Poland not taking in Islamic refugees from Syria or other places. They're making some very big mistakes in Germany and other places. They're growing the far extreme right by their extreme incompetence of government. But, so, if there was going to be a flood of East Germans moving into Hungary or something, I could see Hungary very legitimately going, no, you can't come here. But if you just want to travel through our country to get to the West, sure. And that's what really sort of broke down, this basically Czechoslovakia and Hungary no longer enforcing the blockade on East Germans going to West Germany. And West Germany had long had a policy of Germans are Germans if you want to move here. Oh, the one group of people that was largely, I'm not saying entirely, but largely able Germans that were able to, East Germans that were able to move to West Germany, were old people, were retired people, because they were no longer useful to the East Germans because they were old enough under the communist system to no longer need to work. And they could move to West Germany and be free. And the West Germans would give them the same retirement, Social Security type package that any West German would get. So it wasn't, and they wouldn't bill the East German government for it. So they were sort of like, oh yeah, you're 70 years old or whatever the age was, you and your wife, you want to go to West Germany, you can go, but you're not coming back, but you can go. So that was the group of people that my understanding that generally could get out. But if you weren't that group of people, you were locked up. And so that's the kind of thing that I think is abhorrent. It is because it is a prison situation. Prison. You put people into prisons for a reason, in my opinion. They've committed a crime, or they're a danger to society. Which of course those in some cases are mental institutions that are secured and locked up because they may or may not have committed a crime, but they have been judged by hopefully competent authorities that they are a danger to themselves or others. And that's where they need to belong. And of course, we can also put in wacky people thinking that, oh, I should plant a bomb to get my way. Whether it's the Unabomber who had his weird manifesto, which I've never read, or whether it's an Islamic terrorist, or a communist terrorist, or a Nazi terrorist, an abortion rights terrorist. And you may, at some point they're just too much of a danger. You lock them up for a reason. You don't lock up people without a reason, but you can lock people out. I have a lock on the door in my home. You can have locked fences around your home. You can have locked fences around your country, so long as it's keeping people out and not in. If I were locking people up in my home and not allowing them out, I live alone, so I'm not doing that. But if I were doing that, then the government and society can come in and that's not right. You're not allowed to kidnap people. So yeah, the idea that we have situations like North Korea and other situations around the world still that are governments, what they're saying in Ukraine. People want to be Russian, they can leave. If they want to live in Ukraine, they can live in Ukraine. But we have all this stuff, and yeah, there has been, some condemnation of Russia's actions in Ukraine. But that there's international reaction to where the U.S., thinks the capital of Jerusalem is. And even as Nikki Haley, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, said, as part of the statement, we've made no changes as to where we think the borders of the West Bank, of East and West Jerusalem, shall we say, because there are sort of East and West Jerusalem, are. None of that has changed. And the plot of land, if I understand correctly, that Israel set aside, whether that's going to actually be the location of the U.S. Embassy or not, is basically in the western part of Jerusalem. So it's like most maps will show at least half of Jerusalem in Israel, whether they acknowledge there's a Palestinian West Bank or not. But so the status of Jerusalem is not changed in any sort of negotiated settlement, but that we can't acknowledge this, that it's somehow a UN, massive UN. I mean, there were, in the League of Nations, there was more support for Nazism and, and taking over other countries than there's, percentage of support or backlash against the U.S. for acknowledging this thing in Israel. And so this is what the world's successor to this, but League of Nations, Lega delle Nazioni, I figured that one out after a moment. But that's what the world is complaining about. That is what the world feels that it's worth passing resolutions. Now it's a non-binding, nothing's going to happen about it. No one's doing a an embargo through the UN about it or whatever. But you get that going on. Really? That's what you're concerned over, people? So, how do I put this? It's not just that nations act in their self-interest, which of course they always should. Nations should always act in their own self-interest. But it just, I don't know if hypocrisy is the right term, or the corruption is maybe a better term for it. The situation where you can have nations that are beyond a police state. I don't think North Korea has ever been on the Human Rights Commission type thing in the UN, but Iran has, Cuba has, and other, totalitarian regimes in history has been on that thing. Libya, I think, was on it under Gaddafi for a while. And if those people get their seat at judging other nations' human rights abuses or lack thereof, get put on these things, to me, the institution itself is corrupt. No nation, you can talk about justice systems, and there's criticism on the U.S. and in the U.S. we do periodically identify, because science goes along, we do genetic testing on some evidence sample and exonerate somebody, and people were framed and they've been executed because it happens in the U.S. So I'm presume it happens in every country, but we do have a degree of the situations of police states and locking people up. And so when you don't selectively do some of that stuff, it's sort of like on women's rights commissions. Well, let's put Saudi Arabia, which almost has zero rights for women. We're not even talking Iran. Saudi Arabia is still, I don't know if women can still not yet drive. I mean, they're like getting the ability to drive. They're the age to start driving a car, and not even just driving alone, but driving a car, I think at all, is like age 30, where for men it's 18, but women you got to wait to age 30. Yeah, Saudi Arabia gets to be, and I don't know if it currently is, but I believe it has been, on a panel for improving women's rights around the world. What organization in its right mind would put Saudi Arabia on that type of a commission, panel, whatever? And if I have some of the details wrong on this, sorry, you can correct me, but that it's unimportant to the point. I'm not saying that Saudi Arabia has to give equal rights to women, because if in their judgment of their society they've decided no, okay, I think they're wrong. I'm not saying, I'm good with it. No, I think they're wrong. I wouldn't want to live there. I would just sort of only want to visit either for a brief business reason or to see some historical sites, and then I'm out. I don't want to live. I don't want to continue in that society. So they've by their actions, they've made a place in the world that I don't want to live, and it's not just because it's hot there. That's part of it, but not just because of that. So I would not move to or live in Saudi Arabia, and I would only, again, if somebody was for some business thing, I would visit it, for the business reason, and then I'm out. And if there's not a touristy, this is a nice resort, but I don't know, go where some T.E. Lawrence's, Lawrence of Arabia's battle happened or something that I wanted to go see. And I'd go see that for historical thing. But then I'm out. I'm not, again, if they have some wonderful, great, super, ultra Disney park, I'm not going to it. I'm not giving them any more money than I need to, And yeah, I'm trying to remember if I've ever had Saudi friends. Had a bunch of Arab friends. Had Arab friends, actually more friends of other family members, but over for my Thanksgiving dinner, their family. So, they were from Jordan, not from Saudi Arabia. I'm trying to remember if I've really had any friends from Saudi Arabia, but I don't specifically. More Lebanon and Jordan for Arabs. I had one or two Persian friends, but Iranian Persian. So it's not, but I'm not going to not. And I've known Saudi Arabs. That's different than having them as friends. And I'm not saying any of the ones that I've known are bad people or anything. Their society has made choices that I would not live in. But if that's their society, then okay, that's going to be their society. And again, I say it's wrong. What I really dislike about Saudi Arabia, and I know I have viewers in there, and even a few viewers from Iran, I've been informed. I think they use a VPN to be able to watch YouTube, but because I don't really show up to see viewing numbers from there. But I know one of you specifically said hi, and you watch back and hi back. You've set up a society, or your society has made choices that I can't agree with. And so I'm not going to live there. And you may not agree with the choices in the society. And, okay. What I was getting to, what I don't like, and I'm somewhat pissed about Saudis, is that, and again, not necessarily the individuals, because often they don't like or agree with it, is Saudis' missionary Wahhabism of their version of Islam, which is Wahhabi, and funding of mosques around the world, and placing their Wahhabist imams in the mosques, because they are now spreading their ideology to other parts of the world. And I am far from an expert on Islam, but I think better or more appropriate is the Salafist strain of Islam, or whatever. And sorry, I know I'm getting some of these details wrong, and it's not. And so, and yeah, okay, if you believe in the Wahhabism, fine. And I understand that, from the Christian viewpoint is that there's a lot of, missionary work is important, and you may believe that. And okay, but, it's sort of like, if a country really wants to be communist and like North Korea and be left alone, okay, I'm probably not going to, want to do too much about North Korea if it wants to be left alone, and want to do it. But because communism by its very nature and has always seemed to act this way, of being the internationalist viewpoint and attempt to spread its viewpoint everywhere else, that's where I have a problem with it. Now, I also have a problem with, again, in North Korea, walls that keep people in. Very big problems with that. That doesn't mean I'm not then saying we should go to war, because war is another step. Condemning, embargoing, sanctions against, that's one thing. Going to war is another step. I'm not saying I'm for going to war because whether it's North Korea or East Germany or wherever has walls keeping people inside. That's just, it's wrong, but it's not that. The other thing, of course, is their nuclear weapons and their extremely erratic behavior that I have problems with North Korea on. And yes, I think it's a Stalinistic gulag type society, but if there was no boundary or borders keeping people in, and South Korea was willing to take all the Koreans, those that wanted to stay, good. I wonder who would really want to stay. And so I have to, it's still sort of wonder why the society continues to exist. But okay. But, so get out. So with this, not just because of Mussolini's war, and not just because it's going to sort of help us a bit, I probably too would leave the League of Nations, and if I were America making the decisions, I probably would stop giving all money to the United Nations. Whether I'd actually leave it, I don't know, and I might very much kick them, hosting it out of the U.S. if they didn't change things. They probably wouldn't believe me, so they probably wouldn't change things. So Moscow or Beijing would become the new UN capital of the world. wonder how they would deal with a bunch of... See, I wonder if Russia or Beijing, who probably, as I sit here and think about it, would probably go, yeah, we'd take the UN in a heartbeat because we would now be the center of the United Nations of the world. Okay, you do that, and then, oh, you can't keep anybody out of your country now. Because let's just say the U.S., is still a member of the United Nations, and you have they build a UN building in Beijing, and then the U.S. sends their diplomatic team to Beijing, and one of the UN member, or one of the U.S. diplomatic team ambassadors walks around littering the ground with Falun Gong brochures or Christian Bibles or whatever it is. They can't do anything about it. They can't stop him. They can follow right along behind him and pick him up everything that he drops, but they can't lock him up. They can't deport them. They can't get rid of them. Because he isn't actually like committing violence. He hasn't like hit anybody over the head. I mean, you hit somebody over the head or you shoot somebody, yes, you do have diplomatic immunity. But normally, well, if sometimes the nation will go, oh yeah, this guy was, acting real bad. Yeah, we're revoking his immunity. You get to, convict him if you want to, or at minimum, because of that, he gets sent home and never comes back. But if it's just sort of like, maybe, in my private life, I distribute Bibles. And under a Trump type administration, if there was a person in, the UN delegation, permanent UN delegation that was a fundamentalist Christian and wanted to distribute Bibles or chapters from the Bible just as they walk around the street, handing them out, leaving them in places, wherever they go, wear a T-shirt or a signed placard in Chinese with Bible verses or Falun Gong verses. There's nothing that the PRC could do for that. And similarly, anti Russian type stuff could go on it, and the U.S. or somebody else could accredit journalists as part of their UN delegation, so they couldn't even threaten the journalists or things like that. And it's, so I don't know whether they would really actually want, these sort of state-controlled governments really actually want a UN. I mean, they put up with, cars parking illegally everywhere that you can't tow, and if you ticket it doesn't matter. So they don't pay the tickets. That they would put up with. But I don't know if they would put up with the propagandists that would come in from some parts of the world. So yeah, so I would definitely stop funding it, maybe kick the UN out of the US, probably, and it probably should be out of the US nowadays. I really think it should go to like Geneva in Switzerland. They can do their nonsense there. Okay, this has been long-winded for this thing, but we are going to leave the UN or leave the League of Nations. And on that point, we're going to end this episode. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. I really do appreciate that. And please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas. I love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.